Hello, you are watching Eye on Africa. I'm James Creedon. Here are our headlines this evening. The bodies of 2 Spaniards and 1 Irishman killed in Burkina Faso were flown back to Spain on Friday. They were ambushed during an anti-poaching patrol in the east of Burkina Faso. More on that coming up. South Africa's Zulu Queen has died at 65. This just over a month after she took on the role following the death of her husband, King Goodwill Zwelithini. We'll hear more from Sam Bradpeace in Cape Town. And we'll take a look at a new TV police drama taking Central African Republic by storm. It's called Bangui Special Victims Unit, and it focuses on the fight against sexual violence. More on that a little later on. Thanks for watching. Now we start in Burkina Faso, where the repatriation took place on Friday of 2 Spanish journalists, David Berrien and Roberto Fraile. The body of a third man, Irish conservationist Rory Young, was also flown back to Europe aboard a Spanish government plane. The 3 were killed last Monday while filming a documentary on poaching. This after their vehicle was ambushed in Arli National Park. 1 Burkina-based soldier was also killed. The Burkina Faso authorities said they had been executed by terrorists. Spain's foreign and defence ministers were on the tarmac as the bodies arrived at Madrid's military air base. They pledged to keep up the fight against the jihadist insurgency in the Sahel region. Let's take a listen.
The Sahel is a zone of great instability and big geopolitical risks, and that is why Spain will keep pushing within the European Union, NATO, and as a country itself, all the efforts to achieve peace, stability, and economic and social progress in this region of the world, where peace and stability of our country is also at stake.
We will do everything possible, collaborating with Burkina Faso authorities to clarify and know who the perpetrators of these appalling acts are. The fight against terrorism in these areas will not stop, and we are going to be relentless about it. We will do everything possible to clarify what happened.
She was the regent queen of the Zulu people in South Africa, an honorary role, but one that carries big influence in the country amongst the largest ethnic group. Mantfombi Dlamini passed away just 1 month after the death of her husband, King Goodwill Zwelithini. Tributes have been pouring in, notably from President Cyril Ramaphosa, who extended his thoughts and prayers once more to the Zulu royal family. For more on that, we can talk now to Sam Bradpeace in Cape Town. Hi, Sam. I imagine there's a lot of sadness after the second death of a figurehead for the Zulu people in a matter of weeks.
Yes, certainly, James. And actually, what you need to remember is it's a big deal for South Africa, but in particular for the Zulu people, who make up about 12 million people across the country. That's about a fifth of the population. And actually, I'm going to have to say, this is the third senior member of the Zulu royal family to die within the last 12 months. You mentioned the King Goodwill Zwelithini, who died back in March. But then before him, even in November, the king's oldest son, he was murdered, in fact. And at the time, some members of the royal family said that potentially there was some foul play involved there. They thought it might have something to do with the succession struggle to take over from King Goodwill Zwelithini. Again, as you've already mentioned, the Zulu royal family in South Africa doesn't really have any federal power in the American sense of the word, but they do have extremely good access to some of the country's top politicians. Additionally, they control a trust which owns millions of hectares of land, and they have an annual budget of close to 4 million euros. So really, they are powerful people, even if they don't have official executive powers. Now, Queen Mantfombi's oldest son, Prince Misuzulu, he looks likely. He's tipped as her likely successor. He's the favourite. But I mean, we've already had as well before the Queen Regent passed away, her prime minister, because again, these Zulu monarchs carry around with them their own sort of private governments. Her prime minister came out and he rebuked certain members of the Zulu royal family for for essentially for power plays, for gaming, for discussions in the corridor away from the official seat of power. Now, of course, we don't know too much about the conditions of the Queen Regent's death, apart from that she died in a hospital in Johannesburg. And we absolutely can't, there's no evidence whatsoever to say that there is any foul play. But what I do want to emphasize is that this is very much a coveted position that many people will now be vying for. But as I said, the likely favourite, Prince Misu Zulu, looks likely to take over.
Okay, Sam, thank you for that. Reporting there from Cape Town on the third fatality in the Zulu royal family in the past 12 months. Thank you for that. Now, in Chad, more than 700 people have been arrested after protests against the new military government there. That government is led by the son of President Idriss Déby, who was assassinated last week. Witnesses say that security forces fired live ammunition at protests held last Tuesday in the country's two largest cities. Streets remained calm but heavily patrolled by military on Friday. Civil society groups are calling for further protests this weekend. Now, Madagascar is on the brink of famine, this according to the World Food Programme. After successive years of drought and recent sandstorms, there's quite a degree of suffering now across the country. One World Food Programme spokesman said that some Malagasy have been forced to eat locusts and leaves. Malnutrition has almost doubled in 1 year, with over 1.3 million people now in urgent need of food aid. So says the World Food Programme. Let's take a listen to one of their representatives, Amer Dowdy.
What I witnessed yesterday, again with members of the diplomatic and international community as well as the government, is horrific images of starving children, malnourished, and not only the children, mothers, parents, and the population in the villages we visited. The situation is extremely worrisome, scary. They are on the periphery of famine, and these are images that I haven't seen for quite some time across the globe.
There you go. Very serious situation there in Madagascar. 5 years of drought, followed by sandstorms this past year, leaving 1.3 million people in need of food aid. Now, Germany aims to start returning a collection of sculptures known as Benin bronzes to Nigeria next year. This is part of a growing trend to return cultural artefacts seized during the colonial era to their places of origin. Laurent Berstecker has the story.
A potential turning point for the restitution of African artifacts. Germany's culture minister said the decision to return hundreds of looted Benin bronzes to Nigeria could help redefine Europe's relation to colonial art.
Yesterday, we set a historic milestone because the German authorities, the ministries and their museums finally agreed on a national strategy to return the Benin bronzes.
These metal plaques and sculptures known as Benin bronzes are among the most important and valuable pieces of African art. Crafted in the 16th century, they decorated the royal palace in the former Kingdom of Benin, a region that's now considered part of Nigeria. Thousands of these artifacts were looted by British soldiers in the late 19th century and auctioned off to museums across the globe, including in Germany. Berlin now hopes that returning these relics can help Africans renew with their own cultural heritage and encourage Germans to reckon with their colonial past.
For a long time, we have had a blind spot in our culture of remembrance. But now we would like to take our historic and moral responsibility seriously.
In recent years, several former colonial powers have begun to re-examine the question of art restitution. France recently pledged to return 26 artifacts to Benin, which had been stolen by the French army during the looting of the country's royal palace in 1892.
Now, it's a first in Central African Republic, a TV police drama shot entirely in the capital, Bangui. The show highlights the fight against sexual violence, and it's no small feat to have pulled off a production like this in a country struggling with conflict and poverty. Clément Divroma reports from Central African Republic.
In this suburb of Bangui, a kidnapping scene that these actors repeat again and again.
Silence, plateau!
We're on the set of Bangui Special Unit, the first police TV drama in the CER, with a central theme, violence against women, a first on the continent. In front of the camera that day, Valentina films an important scene that takes place during the last civil war. The young actress plays the main character of the series, Regine, an inspector tormented by the conflict and determined to put sex offenders in prison.
C'est la dernière scène de la série, ce flashback qu'on a sur ma vie. Avec la venue des anti-balaka, les rebelles et tout, quand ils viennent, la première des choses qu'ils font, c'est des pillages. Et bien sûr, c'est des viols. Et vu qu'il n'y a personne qui en parle, c'est vraiment très important pour nous d'en parler.
The Beninese filmmaker Elvira Jamossi was inspired by a real Central African police unit, but also by a favorite American series, which features a dozen characters just like Inspector Regine.
Parce que ça fait partie de son histoire, c'est son background, c'est parce que sa sœur a été kidnappée, violée devant elle.
It took Elvira years of preparation to accomplish this unprecedented project in the CER, as the country was torn once again by violence. She raised 500,000 euros with the help of the European Union and French-speaking initiatives to make the first season happen. After several weeks of filming, she's relieved.
Qu'avec la situation du pays, c'était pas du tout donné. Tout le monde se disait c'est de la folie. Même moi-même, je me disais est-ce que je pourrais le faire?
After the last scene, Elvire goes to the suburbs of Bangui to discover the first shots of the shooting on the screen.
De voir les images en face comme ça, c'est vraiment génial.
The rough cut of the drama has been edited by Guy Thierry, the technical director, already convinced of the future success of the show.
Ça va déclencher quelque chose, je pense, parce que c'est un pays vierge. C'est pratiquement la première série qu'on tourne ici. Les gens seront surpris quand même de voir les images. On a quand même bien bossé, quoi.
The first season is keenly anticipated by the Central Africans. It should be completed at the end of the year and broadcast next year.
Okay, tonight's show is produced by Tatiana Reiter. Thanks to her and all the team. Thank you for watching and good night.